High levels of radon gas inside your house can be dangerous to your health. This is why it's important to test your house for radon gas to determine if a radon gas mitigation system should be installed. It's also important to note that radon gas can be present regardless of whether you have a basement or not. Today we have Target Radon that will be installing a radon mitigation system in this house behind me. The homeowner only discovered the high levels of radon when they went to sell this house. Though no level of radon gas inside a house is determined to be safe, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency recommends mitigating any radon gas levels above 4 picocuries per liter. A home buyer, being smart, decided to get a radon test done during their home inspection process, and it was determined that the radon gas levels were over 6 picocuries, which requires mitigation. Hey, Steve, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Nice to seeing you again.
Thanks for having us along for this installation.
Thanks for coming.
So what's the dangers of radon in the house?
Well, if you're not a cigarette smoker, radon's number one leading cause of lung cancer. Once it gets into the house, it doesn't matter if it's a newer house or an older house, but this radon builds pressure up underneath the foundation, and once these carcinogens get into the house, then that is a problem.
So what is the process of mitigating for radon?
Well, the sciencey way of it is changing the pressure difference. If we can move enough air underneath the slab to keep the lowest area's pressure greater than, you'll never get rid of radon, but it keeps it suppressed down there. That's why that fan will run 24/7. So that's just keeping it from coming up through the slab. So it's all about pressure changing difference. I know that sounds crazy. A lot of people think that it's just grabbing that gas and expelling it outside. And it kind of does do that. But the whole process is to change the pressure difference underneath the slab.
All right, so what are we doing today?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. There's a couple ways of achieving that, but this here is just going to be the typical sub-slab depressurization system. That actually, I haven't even checked it out, so you're going to see this live to see whether we're going through the sump pump, which is a lot of people think the sump pump has something to do with it. You can throw that out in the backyard. It's the actual drain tile that spills into the sump pump, and that's an easy airflow that we can pull a lot of air underneath there. Or we may have to just go straight down through the concrete slab. And I got my guys making me look good, and we'll see what the best method is.
Let's get started.
All right, Blaine.
All right.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so what's the first thing we're looking for here?
Well, it's a good clean basement, so we have a lot of options, but what we normally will do in a case like this, you have a sump pump over here in the corner. Luckily, there's no obstructions in the back where we can exit. We'll have a choice of either going out the side or out the back. And you try to figure out that maybe in the future they may want to be putting a deck out there or something like that. But we'll go down through the sump pump lid. Traditionally, that's a good place to start.
So what happens if you don't have the sump pit in the basement?
Good question. If you don't have a sump pump, no big deal. We just have to core drill. The whole thing is to move enough air to change the pressure difference. So this lowest living area's pressure is greater than and keeps that underneath the slab. Because geologically speaking, you'll never get rid of radon. It's not like a well. Eventually, you'll run the well dry. Geologically, the radon comes from the bedrock and just keeps on coming up. So you just have to manage it and suppress it. This is Andy. He's my lead guy. He makes me look good. Which way are you going, out the side or the back?
Back.
At the back corner? Okay, there you go. And then what we have to do is run the wire down into this circuit. This is a 120 volt receptacle, standard house wiring. Our fans only pull about a half an amp. So it's not going to exceed this 15 amp. It's not going to affect and trip a breaker or anything like that. And if the fan stops running, usually we say, check to make sure you have the electric running. Check your panel. And so we always clearly mark that so they'll know, and they can see if it's been tripped or whatever.
How long does a fan usually last?
On our fans, 5-year warranty on the fan. So I've been using these fans for about 13 years. most of them are still out there working effectively and efficiently.
With you being in this business, Steve, would you say, and in this situation, the only way the seller knew that there was an issue was because the buyer had it tested?
Correct.
But do you believe that being in this business that every homeowner should have a radon test?
Yeah. Let's just say you lived in an area that it was well water. You would never live in that home without testing the well that you were drinking and washing and cleaning in it. So yeah, get it tested. Even if you think this is a bunch of hyperbole or BS, do it for your family, for your pets. It's a proven human carcinogen that comes in your house. Get rid of it.
What about these tests you can buy in Home Depot?
Yeah. Should be accurate. It will go to an independent EPA-regulated lab. If you're honest when doing the test, keeping the windows closed, do the common sense stuff, don't turn on the overhead ceiling fan, you'll get an accurate reading.
What does it cost on average to have your home tested for radon?
Averagely $150 to $175.
Very inexpensive.
I think so.
And then what about with condominiums now? Because I'm seeing where people are getting radon tests if they're on the first or the first floor, lower level,
right? And
where they're actually putting these radon units in condo units.
Yeah. I've done quite a few of them, and as a matter of fact, I get asked a lot by realtors and, believe it or not, even some home inspectors, how do you have radon? There's not even a basement. Everybody just always thinks you got to have a basement for radon to get into the house. If it's a slab on grade, which most condos are, and let's say just like most of the condos, every inch of that is finished. How do you get to achieve the sub-slab depressurization system? We can go outside of the condo and dig down, minimally about 8 inches. The slab is traditionally 4 to 5 inches. We'll drill right underneath the slab that way. Never had to go inside their condo. So they don't see it, they don't hear it, it's less invasive.
Well, it's interesting because a condo, the owner owns the inside unit. It's not a common element. So you would need to get permission from the association to run a pipe on the outside, which I'm sure they wouldn't withhold.
They can't withhold
it legally. However, trying to get somebody to allow you to put a device in their unit is probably not enforceable. So that is good information for anyone that is considering buying a condominium. Now, when we look at a basement like this, are you confident that incorporating this sump pump area, the sump pit area, without doing any other drilling, are you fairly confident that looking at this basement, you'll achieve your goal of reducing the radon to that 4 ppm?
Usually, yes. But this is going to be a good house. We're just experiencing this together. And I'm going to point out a couple things that we need to address.
Okay. This video is brought to you by Sachs Realty.education. Many of the costly mistakes that people make when buying a house can be 100% avoided. To learn more, visit Sachs Realty.education and become an educated homebuyer today.
First of all, the expansion seam right here can be a problem. We'll put a smoke pen test on here once we run it, but you don't want to start pulling positive pressure out from this lowest living area.
And a crack
can very well just start sucking the positive pressure air out of here, and it just creates a problem and doesn't make the system work effectively. Come over here, look what I found. I guess this is for some type of rough in of some sort, and we'll patch that up.
So any holes, any cracks that go through the slab become a problem and you have to seal them up.
Yeah. We can just neat and clean, cut a shower mat and seal it and just drop it right on there. And then you don't normally see this, and I don't even know why they built it this way. But you can't tell by this insulation, but this is a masonry wall, which you have a footer supporting this masonry wall. That system that we're proposing to put in here works great. We'll choose the right fan for the right conditions and the right square footage. But that radon could be coming up in this section here, and that fan will only go to this point, and that could be building pressure up underneath this area. So when we guarantee it our work for life.
So what are you doing here?
What we're trying to do is see if there is suction from the sump pump all the way over here. Majority of the times, this has all from that wall all the way over here, just footer, and that prevents the suction from the main system sucking air from over here. But it looks like what they did is they run a corrugated pipe all the way over here,
Okay.
and or all this is just exposed.
So in that case, this whole room is treated as one.
Correct.
Right.
Because this can be one of the problems too. But it's good suction. Normally only pulls the smoke, but it's pulling the whole fire. So, which is good.
Yeah.
It's really good. What we're trying to do is just get a pilot hole and see where we're gonna come outside. We already took a look outside and looks like it's clear, but still we like to be safe. We don't want to damage, the siding or anything like that. Once he pilots outside, I'm gonna go outside, see where it comes out, and then just start using the hole drill, and then just to make a neat cut, and then we start, with the main system pretty much.
So what's the average installation time on a radon system like this? How long do you actually figure for your guys to be on the site?
2 hours for this, 2.5 hours. It's amazing. We normally do 2 to 3 a day. If you notice, my guy Sammy here, of course we glue all the fittings and they take a careful measurement, make sure that everything's level and plumb, and really taper along these walls pretty tightly, and then 45 it to go down into this sump pump area. That pipe is going to be going on outside, and it's going to be an open-end pipe going up to the roof line. There is going to be a lot of residual water that goes down this pipe. A lot of people ask me, well, where does that go? It just comes right down and goes into the sump pump. And if you don't have the sump pump, it just dissipates and goes under the ground.
Is there a height requirement of how high the pipe needs to be?
These are good questions, and I'm sure you've been confronted with it. I really follow the 10-foot, 2-foot rule. So as long as we're 2 foot above any window or door opening, or 10 foot away, you're fine. And another noteworthy thing with our fans, my fans that I use, this is why I use these, we have an internal condensation bypass. That residual water never touches that motor. That's why I think our fans last a lot longer. They're more efficient, they're more quiet.
Now, you had said that you guarantee your work for the lifetime.
Correct.
Is that pretty industry standard? Is that someone should they be asking the question? How long do you guarantee your work for when they're hiring a radon company?
I think so. First of all, let's face it, PVC pipe's going to be around even past our grandkids. But putting the right brackets on, making sure that things are sealed up properly, we don't guarantee an act of God. But anything else, if the fan goes bad within 5 years, if the brackets come loose, we'll take care of all that, no questions asked. If it's of our fault and our workmanship, we'll take care of it.
There's a lot of information from the fan in the cover, for all the customers that they want to know what type of fan they have in their house. If you get the same exactly fan that we use, this is pretty much, I think, one of the best fans that you can find out there. As it gets. So that will be pretty much outside here. And then what we got to do is finish it doing all the electrical and the interior part, and then the fan is going to start working. we like to check around the basement and see if we have any drains, cracks, or opening gaps like the ones that we seal. I do want to check this drain. There's chances that this drain is going to the sump pump. There's a lot of suction there. So I just got to make sure I seal this. We just got to make sure. Yeah, that would be it.
Boy, things look great, man. You're all wrapped up.
Yeah, this pretty good job, and systematically the way we do things, everything's clearly marked of Radon. My name and number's on here with the guarantees that we have. If anybody has a problem, they call us up. We can explain over the phone or come out here if necessary. If you notice on here, one side's higher than the other. This is a vacuum pressure gauge, manometer, a lot of different descriptions of what this is. But this gives you a visual gauge to let you know that the fan, which you can't hear it, especially on new build homes where the fan's up in the attic, you never know whether it's working or not. But you'll see that one side's pulling higher than the other. If you ever notice it, if it would ever flatline like this, something's wrong. Somebody turned the fan off outside, maybe the receptacle trip, shouldn't, but that just is an indication that the fan's not working. That's when you would call me. And also, what we do on all our installs, just in case somebody would ever have to get back into the sump pump, if there's an emergency or anything, we have this Fernco coupler, whatever you want to call it, that they can quickly disconnect that, and that way they don't have to move the whole manifold, and then they can just pull this all out. And noticing around the bigger gaps on the pre-manufacturer sump pump lid, if you can see all that, we just make sure that that's all tightly sealed, just regular caulk, indoor, outdoor caulk. You don't want a urethane or anything to permanently seal that, because if they'd ever have to get in there in an emergency, you just want to be able to get it, just cut it with a utility knife and see what the problem is. So we make it very accessible, visual gauge, and the information if they have any questions. So that's about it. Everything's marked in the panel. Super quiet. The most efficient system out on the market today, really is. Use the right fan for the right square footage and the right soil conditions, you'll get the maximum results. To ensure that the system's working effectively, we make sure that we supply a post-test kit that will go to an EPA-regulated independent lab. That way there's no conflict of interest, us testing our own work. That's the way all licensed mitigation companies should work. It's a canister that we open up like that, take the tape off the canister, we put it down in the basement, has to be off the floor, approximately 12 to 18 inches. It needs to be open at least a day after the install, and then it needs to be open and exposed for at least 48 but not to exceed 96 hours. They do want you to wrap the canister back up with the tape when you put everything back in the package. And when they're done, take it to the post office. The lab will get it in a few days. If there is any residual radon still coming in that's a concern, this will accurately pick it up.
Sounds great. Well, thanks so much, Steve.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Hey, I really do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching today, and make sure to get your house tested for radon gas to determine if your home needs a radon mitigation system installed. We want you and your family to be safe. Please consider subscribing to our channel and share this video with your family and friends. See you next time.
Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.